The Death Egg? Oh man, that's not good.
None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's called war.
None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's called war. Yeah, why didn't they just call it bad? Sonic Forces. Initially revealed under the title Project Sonic, was announced alongside Sonic Mania at the 25th anniversary celebration back in July of 2016. And while, of course, Sonic Mania absolutely stole the show, there's no denying Project Sonic still had some people excited at the premise. Sega looked like they were finally leaning back into a more serious story with stakes. You know, going that whole dark and mysterious route again, with the giant Death Egg robots destroying a city and Sonic springing into action. A lot of fans, myself included, were looking at this trailer and going, oh, you know, okay, you have my attention, Sega. Maybe this is gonna be a good one. And, well, you know how things panned out from there. But the game did get us that Hooters collaboration. You remember that? This? Yeah, this happened. This really happened. This really happened. We don't even have a Hooters in New Zealand. And you know what? I'm just gonna say it. It's because we're uncultured. Sonic Forces released on the 15th of August 2017. And a lot of people were pretty negative to the overall game. And honestly, I'd be lying if I didn't concede that Forces most definitely had its problems. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you this is the worst Sonic game that has ever been shipped out by Sega. Because there are far worse games. Specifically, Sonic Jam for the Game.com.
Yeah! What the
I don't really like pointing at any game and going, you are a terrible, irredeemable pile of dog shit. Because even the games that critics or fans have said are terrible usually still have some kind of merit to them. There's a good chance that Sonic 06 or Sonic Boom was someone's first entry into the Sonic series. And they found value in it, despite their apparent flaws. Except for Sonic Jam for the Game.com. I cannot stress enough that this has no redeeming qualities. And for Sonic Forces, honestly, when it first dropped, I remember having a pretty okay time with it. The music is top-notch, the create an avatar gimmick for the game I thought was cute. Albeit it still feels like it needed a little bit more in the options department. You know, no skunk species, so we gotta dock some points there, Sega. But Sonic fans have been making their own OCs since, well, as long as the series has been around. So this honestly was a pretty ingenious idea. And even now, I'd love to see them expand on this again in a future project. I even love the story and the attempts to make things more dark and serious again. A ragtag band of resistance members trying to overcome the odds and save their world. I just kinda wish they'd leaned even harder into it, honestly. Like, at the start, we see Sonic getting absolutely body-checked by Infinite and the other villain illusions. The game telling us Sonic was presumed dead, but instead captured and tortured for months before we can even make any kind of a rescue attempt. And then, when we finally see Sonic again, he's just smart-mouthing at Zavok without so much as a bruise on him. You know, Griffith, this is not. It just kind of cheapened the moment a little for me. Well, that and those weird jumping avatars in the background back there. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. Like, hear me out. What if we'd gone about 5 or 6 stages into the game before we discovered Sonic was still alive? Have us playing as other members of the Resistance, like Tails or Knuckles, until we intercept some kind of message that talks about Sonic. Give us that twist after we start to believe the premise. Because we literally discover Sonic's alive before we can even play through the second stage of the game.
I've just received some incredible news. Sonic is alive!
Wow.
But overall, it was a pretty fun and inoffensive game. With a really reasonable price tag, considering Sega are a first-party game developer. With its biggest critiques really being the length of the game, considering you are able to finish it in about 3 to 4 hours, which, you know, does sort of balance out that lower price tag we talked about. And, okay, the biggest thing, the major thing, are the game's physics. Especially when you're playing as classic Sonic. I revisited this game to record footage and kind of re-go over how it played and how it felt, and this is definitely still a sore point. Classic Sonic's momentum and physics are incredibly janky. Even little acts like rolling into a spin ball can just stop your momentum dead in its tracks. Then there's these weirdly off weight to his jump, like... Modern Sonic stages and the Avatar stages fare a little better, but there were still a few levels that, you know, had me going, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's working as fucking intended. Honestly, this was the only thing that really made me grit my teeth. I don't mind if the stages themselves are insanely fast. Hell, I don't even mind the auto-running segments, as I kinda like that little cinematic touch. But if the controls or the physics are a mess, even some of the easiest acts, like making a jump I could make in my sleep on any other Sonic game, can be a frustrating endeavor. And honestly, in this era of gaming, where developers can push out patches and fixes for games, I really feel like this is something that just needed a bit of tweaking and it would have been fine. I think the best way to sum up Sonic Forces on that note is harmless, but left us wanting. The pieces I feel like were here. The story, the music, the antagonist, the avatar, but Sega just sort of kind of botched putting it all together. But luckily, the Sonic modding community stepped in to work a little magic on this game. And honestly, really did some amazing work. From adding in missing boss fights, like this phenomenal Chaos Zero boss fight with classic Sonic. That feels so well done, honestly, you'd mistake it for being a part of the core game. To countless Avatar cosmetic mods, physics tweaks, and by far my favorite mod for the game, an entire overhaul in the Sonic Forces Overclocked mod. Like seriously, this mod was such a fun ride, it actually inspired this entire video you're watching. I'm going to talk about the mod here in detail, but I'm also going to be uploading a full playthrough of it and its prologue Metal Sonic chapter on the channel to coincide with this video. And don't worry, there aren't going to be any story spoilers for the mod here, so you can still play through it yourself or watch the playthrough afterwards. The mod begins right where Forces ended, Sonic and the Resistance claiming victory over Eggman as he's left to pick up the pieces, ordering Metal Sonic to recover the Phantom Ruby. Only when Metal reaches the ruined remains of the original game's final boss and scoops out the ruby, it has an instant effect on him, transforming him into his Neo-Metal Sonic form from Sonic Heroes. He opts to leave Eggman in the dark about this, severing communications with his master and taking things into his own hands, teaming up with Infinite so the two of them can lay the hurtin' on Sonic and his friends. With 8 new stages, all featuring new music, voiceovers, cutscenes, avatar parts, and a new boss, Overclocked is seriously a fantastic rehaul of the game that adds another 2+ hours on to the game's runtime. The stages are a lot more challenging than the base games, and also have a lot of fun flair to them. Things like Resistance members in the background fighting off badniks, to even the Chaotix crew giving us some backup on a stage. All of the new cutscenes are in that comic book style of shifting panels that honestly works pretty well here, feeling like something straight out of the IDW comics. All of the voice casts do a great job in their roles, no one sounding out of place and really helping the mod's believability. Seriously, everything is really well thought out, and I kinda wish Sega would just wholesale adapt this mod into a DLC for the game. then I wouldn't have to flick between this and the original game via the Hedgehog Manager, at least. If you've done everything there is to do in Sonic Forces, which isn't admittedly going to take you too long, why not check out some of the great stuff the modding community has been doing with this game? Sonic Forces sadly doesn't offer Steam Workshop mod support. But if you've ever modded Sonic Adventure, or like any 3D Sonic game, you're probably already pretty familiar with the terrific Hedgehog Manager. And that's where I think we're going to leave this one. I hope you've all enjoyed revisiting this game that honestly is really overhated for what it is. If you've never played Forces, well, it's 75% off on Steam right now. And honestly, that's a pretty fair price to pick this game up. I also did have kind of an idea for another Sonic Forces video I'd like to do, where we go over the full game's narrative, and I pitch to you guys my ideal version of this game, fixing up a lot of plot issues and character faux pas, essentially rewriting the entire story into the version of the game I'd have kills for. But that's kind of a way longer video, and a much deeper dive into both the game and the franchise as a whole. I'm currently in two minds of if I should make that video, or if I should just push on with my next project. What do you all think? It might sound a little fanficky, but maybe if you were really disappointed with Sonic Forces, you might like my pitch a whole lot more. Let me know in the comments below. And thanks so much again for watching and commenting, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. But, until then, take care of yourselves.